El director del FBI, Kash Patel, acaba de desatar una crisis en la Casa Blanca tras ser obligado a cancelar sus planes y comparecer de urgencia por un escándalo de corrupción que, bueno, tiene a todos en pánico. Y no se pueden perder este video porque vas a ver cómo este polémico funcionario gastó miles de dólares de dinero público en lujos extravagantes, aviones privados para su novia y autos blindados de lujo. La gravedad es tal que el influyente senador republicano, Chuck Grassley, le dio la espalda y exige investigarlo. Quédense hasta el final del video para que descubras con pruebas claras cómo se está desmoronando el control del gobierno por culpa de este enorme desastre. Finalmente está sucediendo y la Casa Blanca está en modo pánico porque por supuesto que lo están. Donald Trump ha reunido una administración de los mayores idiotas y además debo de señalar de los idiotas más arrogantes. También de los idiotas con más aires de grandeza de todo el país. Quienes no solo no hacen bien sus trabajos, sino que no los hacen en absoluto. El principal entre todos ellos es Kash Patel, el tipo borracho que ocupa el FBI, el director borracho del FBI, mejor dicho, a quien ahora básicamente están llamando a la oficina del director para recibir un regaño y ante la posibilidad de ser despedido, hay demasiado en lo que tenemos que profundizar en este momento, no solo sobre Kash Patel siendo llamado a la Casa Blanca porque están furiosos con todas sus meteduras de pata, sino también por una especie de revuelta que está ocurriendo en el Senado. Chuck Grassley está pidiendo más información sobre los gastos sin control de Kash Patel, todo el fraude, toda la corrupción, todos los aviones privados y también sobre su novia, que todos sabemos que probablemente sea una espía, que está siendo agasajada con servicios de 5 estrellas. Vamos a profundizar en todo ello y comienza con un informe de Chris Hyens que él presentó de hecho en su programa. Jamie Raskin también va a hablar de esto más adelante, así que quédense. Y ya que están aquí amigos, no olviden darle like a este video y suscribirse al canal. Ahora sí. Primero que todo, entremos en este reporte que demuestra que la Casa Blanca simplemente se está desmoronando en este momento. Miren, por favor.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. We've got some breaking news tonight. So just last night, when I was in this chair, I spoke with MS Now Justice correspondent Ken about the wild behavior and spending of one Kash Patel, the far-right podcaster turned director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. He hasn't spent a lot of time at the Bureau or been investigating much of anything from what we can tell, but he spent a lot of time at sporting events and at concerts, drinking, partying, snorkeling at the Pearl Harbor Memorial, which is a little bit of an odd choice, traveling on his own government jet with his country music singing girlfriend. Well, today, Patel responded to some of MS Now's own reporting on how he spends his time in the government's resources, writing on social media, quote, "My jet ski is gold-plated, dumbass. Your job is to lie. Mine is to protect the American people, and business is good." Well, now tonight, the breaking news. We have exclusive MS Now reporting suggests Donald Trump isn't so happy with the job Patel is doing. The FBI director abruptly canceled a planned flight Friday to see his girlfriend in Chicago just as he was preparing to leave after top administration officials, frustrated with Patel, summoned him to the White House, according to 2 people with knowledge of the change. There appear to be several reasons for Patel's recall. Some in the White House reportedly found it confounding that the FBI director was leaving town amid the recent revival of the war with Iran and alleged threats against the president's life, according to a person familiar with efforts to help Patel rebuild trust with the White House. Another issue seems to be reports by MS Now and others about how Patel's lavish travel is being footed by you and I. Sources said there is at least one other unforced error. That would be the tweet today blasting us here at MS Now. Carol Lenig is the MS Now senior investigative reporter who broke this story with colleagues Jacqueline Alemany, Ken Delanian, Vaughn Hilliard, and Jake Traylor. When you've got 5 bylines, you know you can take it to the bank. Carol Lenig. Well, so what were the circumstances, as best you can tell from your reporting, about how this was communicated to Patel? And then did he go to the White House?
He did. In fact, according to our reporting and our sources, he was basically commandeered back to the White House with plans to spend all of the day there. You know, Chris, when we first started this reporting, we were looking at, confirming, corroborating reports that he was scheduled to go to Chicago to visit his girlfriend. It's become a familiar pattern that he takes his jet to go see his girlfriend perform at various events. And this time it was at a country music street festival in Chicago, which is hosted in the parking lot of a large Chicago Stadium. He was going to go to that event. He had, according to sources, scheduled a field office visit in Chicago, which FBI agents found really insulting. They felt like that was just a cover for him to be able to go see his girlfriend without any, annoying questions from reporters. That's how we started our day of reporting. But then we learned from our sources that on the tarmac this morning, Kash Patel was in a panic. He had to cancel the trip. He had to get to the White House stat because he was being ordered to come back basically to the principal's office to answer some questions and do some work. And there were a number of reasons. I have to tell you, I wish I knew precisely which one was the most important. And we don't know that yet, Chris. But you can imagine the three that you listed, right? We're at war with Iran. Iran tries to kill the president by recruiting people in the United States to kill him here. Number two, he tweeted a very strange thing at MS Now about calling one of our columnists a dumbass and bragging about a jet ski that was gold-plated. And then third, the reason is that we've heard is that, one of Trump's most important and reliable allies in the Senate, Republican Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, is now frustrated with Patel and trying to get answers to questions about the expenses of his travel to Milan, why he purchased BMWs that were armor-plated so that he can more discreetly get around town. These are some of the reasons that have been cited to us about why the White House is kind of up to here with Patel and wanted him back at headquarters.
I just have to mention the irony here, which is that the White House loves to talk about fake news and all this stuff, but they actually know the reporting is solid and good and also respond to the reporting. You don't have to say that, I'm going to say that, but...
La Casa Blanca se está cayendo a pedazos. Eso es lo que pasó, eso es lo que está pasando ahora mismo con Kash Patel. La Casa Blanca está simplemente en una crisis completa y total y no saben cómo controlar a su propia gente porque su propia gente son idiotas y no se supone que deban de hacer estos trabajos, no les gustan estos trabajos, no quieren hacerlos. Esa es una de las cosas más importantes que hay que reconocer sobre la presidencia de Donald Trump. Que estas personas son unos imbéciles, perdón que lo diga, pero lo son, con aires de grandeza, que en realidad no quieren estar allí, y eso es bastante intencional. La idea es que si fracasan lo suficiente, la gente creerá que eso es simplemente lo que hace el gobierno. Están usando estos puntos no solo para beneficiarse económicamente, sino que también es importante recordar que hacen que todo el mundo piense, bueno, así es como funciona esto, así es como siempre va a ser. ¡No! Hay personas que pueden hacer su trabajo mejor que los idiotas y los presentadores de Fox con los que Donald Trump ha llenado al gobierno, su gabinete y también la presidencia. Eso es algo que puede suceder. El gobierno puede beneficiar la vida de las personas, no cuando es Kash Patel, ciertamente porque, bueno, Kash Patel está demasiado ocupado emborrachándose como lo hace todos los días. Tengo que informarte, Kash Patel, que si sigues en la administración e incluso si no, te van a desplazar ante el Congreso y no vas a hacer un video de malas noticias, vas a hacer perjurio y vas a terminar yendo a la cárcel por ello. Serás procesado, eso es lo que va a pasar y eso quedó muy claro porque Chuck Grassley, el republicano en el Senado que tiene como 1000 años ahí, lo cual es simplemente alucinante, pero que ahora se ha vuelto en contra de Kash Patel, dijo, no necesitamos respuestas. Jamie Raskin habló más al respecto y también habló de la rendición de cuentas que se avecina. Miren, por favor.
The investigation also cites special perks on official international trips, including VIP snorkeling in Hawaii. That is likely referring to a snorkeling trip the director reportedly took to the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor, hallowed ground, a military cemetery where more than 900 service members are entombed. Snorkeling there is not allowed, with some rare exceptions for military and government officials, normally those responsible for managing the memorial. The VIP snorkeling was not on Director Patel's official schedule for his trip to Hawaii. Beyond VIP perks and international travel, lawmakers on both sides of the aisles are demanding answers on how Patel gets around Washington. It was revealed today by Durbin and Raskin that Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee and a stalwart ally of President Trump, sent a letter to Patel asking him to defend his purchase of BMW SUVs. Patel had reportedly directed the FBI to purchase the luxury vehicles despite the longstanding policy of the FBI director being driven around in Chevy Suburbans. In Grassley's letter, he also wanted Patel to list each flight he took on an FBI aircraft, if it was for personal reasons, and if so, if he had reimbursed the government. When asked for comment on the story regarding the SUVs, an FBI spokesperson said that 2 of the FBI's armored Suburbans needed to be replaced and that the BMWs, quote, had already been purchased by the State Department sitting idle and unused in their warehouse. The FBI purchased the vehicles from the State Department. Whatever the explanation, the many questions surrounding FBI Director Patel sure seem a far cry from then citizen Kash Patel.
Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Go take their money. Chris Wray doesn't need a private jet.
Chris Wray was the former FBI director. The ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Jamie Raskin, joins me now. So, Congressman, you obviously been a frequent critic of Director Patel. How confident are you that Senator Grassley, who's been a staunch ally of President Trump, is committed to getting to the bottom of who is paying for what when it comes to the director's personal travel?
Well, he sent a letter back on May 6th. We've been demanding answers to this set of problems for several months. All the evidence that we have indicates that the taxpayers are footing the bill for junkets and splurges and special recreational experiences for the FBI director. And now we know that there is serious bipartisan concern. The chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Grassley, is demanding answers, and Senator Durbin, who's the ranking member over on the Senate Judiciary Committee, wrote a letter with me today demanding an accounting. Now, look, the FBI director is supposed to travel on an official plane, even if he's taking a personal trip. But it seems pretty clear to the whole world that that was a personal recreational trip when he went out to see his beloved American Olympic hockey team play, and we saw him chugging the beers and partying with the boys. As he said, he should pay for that trip. He's talking about grounding an airplane the FBI director used on official business for $15,000. That trip to Milan cost more than $100,000. So we want to make sure that he has written a check to the taxpayers to reimburse us for that, because we don't pay for VIP snorkeling. We don't pay for jet skiing. We're not paying for luxury travel. That's not what we're in it for. And it's obviously a massive diversion and distraction from the real work of the FBI.
Necesitamos que estas personas rindan cuentas, necesitamos que tengan miedo, necesitamos que renuncien y necesitamos que sepan que el gobierno no es suyo. Y creo que ese es el punto más importante que quiero plantear una y otra vez. No es de ellos, no son los dueños de él, no pueden simplemente saquearlo y saquear lo nuestro. Y necesitamos recuperar todo esto, y vamos a hablar de esto porque debemos de hablarlo como lo venimos haciendo sin parar hace más de un año. Por ahora, amigos, esto sería todo. Espero que les haya gustado. Y si fue así, no olviden que subimos contenido todos los días, así que les agradecería de todo corazón que se suscriban al canal y también que le den like a este video. Sin nada más que decir, mis queridos amigos, nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.